Chapter 1, Meet Jackie. Once upon a time, in the bustling city of Bogotá, Colombia, nestled within the heart of a prestigious law firm, there lived a paralegal named Jackie. She was no ordinary paralegal, mind you, for she possessed a fiery spirit and an unwavering determination that set her apart from the rest. Jackie's days were filled with an extraordinary challenge, one that would test her mettle and push her to the limits of her ingenuity. You see, her law firm was burdened with an antiquated case management system, a relic from a bygone era when paper reigned supreme. The system was a mischievous trickster, tormenting the legal practitioners and leaving chaos in its wake. Picture this, stacks upon stacks of papers, cascading like a mischievous waterfall in the company library. You could spend hours sifting through the labyrinthine mess, desperately trying to unearth the faintest glimmer of information. It was a shared terror, a never-ending battle against the paper jungle. But fear not, for Jackie was about to embark on an epic quest to transform this chaotic scene into a serene digital oasis. Armed with her trusty team of 50 legal practitioners, along with a battalion of assistants and trainees, she was ready to take on the ultimate challenge, to banish the paper demons and bring order to the law firm. With a mischievous twinkle in her eye, Jackie vowed to leave no paper unturned and no file unscanned. She would harness the power of technology and unleash its magic upon the firm, creating a paperless paradise where information flowed freely and time was no longer wasted in the eternal search for a missing document. But this was no ordinary task. It was a battle against the forces of disorganization, a clash between the ancient ways of the past and the modern marvels of the digital age. And Jackie, our intrepid paralegal, was determined to emerge victorious. So, dear reader, buckle up and join Jackie on this enchanting journey. Get ready to witness a tale of laughter, excitement, and unbridled chaos as she navigates through the intricacies of law, armed with wit, determination, and a touch of magic. Together, let us embark on a quest to transform a law firm and bring about a revolution, a paperless revolution that will change the way legal practitioners work forever. Let the adventure begin. Chapter 2, The Project Charter. As Jackie basked in the triumph of her mission, a shrill ring pierced the air, shattering the tranquil moment. Startled, she reached for her phone, and to her surprise, it was a call from the Human Resources Department. Little did she know, her world was about to turn upside down. Hello? Jackie answered, a mix of curiosity and trepidation in her voice. Jackie, we have some news for you, the HR representative said with a sense of urgency. You have been chosen as the official project manager for the case management project. Congratulations. Jackie's heart skipped a beat. She had dreamed of this moment, but she never expected it to come so swiftly. Her mind raced with a whirlwind of emotions, excitement, pride, and a touch of nervousness. She knew that with this new responsibility came great challenges and even greater rewards. With a deep breath, Jackie steadied herself and accepted the mantle of project manager. She was ready to face the storm head-on, armed with her unwavering determination and her newfound authority. As she delved into her new role, Jackie's first order of business was to identify her stakeholders, the individuals and groups who held a vested interest in the success of the case management project. She reached out to the legal practitioners, her teammates, seeking their input and understanding their unique perspectives. She conversed with the IT department, for they would be crucial in implementing the technological changes required. And of course, she made sure to engage with the trainees and assistants, for their fresh perspectives would breathe life into the project. With each interaction, Jackie's understanding of the stakeholders deepened. She listened intently to their concerns, their desires, and their expectations. She realized that her success as a project manager hinged on her ability to communicate effectively, building bridges of trust and collaboration among the diverse stakeholders. But Jackie's quest didn't end there. Armed with her stakeholder insights, she delved into the project charter that had been developed. The charter, a guiding light in the project's stormy sea, outlined the project's objectives, constraints, and deliverables. It served as her compass, pointing her in the right direction and ensuring that she stayed on course. With every word she read, Jackie's determination grew stronger. The project charter was more than just a document, it was a manifesto for change, a declaration that the law firm would leave behind the shackles of paper and embrace a digital future. It outlined the steps needed to transform chaos into order, inefficiency into productivity, and frustration into relief. Jackie embraced the project charter like a captain embracing her ship's wheel. She knew that she had the authority, the responsibility, and the unwavering support of the law firm to make this dream a reality. And with that, she set sail on her transformative journey, her eyes fixed firmly on the horizon. Little did Jackie know that the storm she was about to face would test her resolve, challenge her wit, and demand every ounce of her project management prowess. But she was ready. Armed with her stakeholders' voices echoing in her mind and the project charter as her guiding star, Jackie was prepared to lead the law firm towards a future of streamlined efficiency and boundless possibilities. The stage was set, and the adventure continued. Project title: Case Management System Implementation. Project description: the project aims to introduce a case management system within a law firm to improve efficiency and organization of case-related information. This system will streamline document management, communication, and collaboration among legal teams. The project will focus on implementing the software, training the staff, and ensuring a smooth transition to the new system. Project objectives: select and procure a suitable case management software solution based on the firm's requirements and budget. Plan and execute the installation and configuration of the software on the firm's servers. Develop a comprehensive training program for all staff members to familiarize them with the new system. Coordinate with the software vendor and internal IT team to ensure a smooth integration with existing systems and databases. Migrate existing case data and documents to the new system while maintaining data integrity and security. Monitor the implementation process, track progress, and address any issues or challenges that arise. Evaluate the effectiveness of the new system after implementation and make necessary adjustments. Project deliverables: software evaluation report, including a comparison of different case management solutions and a recommendation. Installation and configuration of the case management software. Training materials, including user manuals and instructional videos. Completion of staff training sessions. Data migration plan and successful transfer of case data to the new system. Ongoing support and troubleshooting during the transition period. Evaluation report outlining the system's impact on efficiency and productivity. Project timeline: software evaluation and selection, 2 weeks. Installation and configuration, 4 weeks. Training program development, 2 weeks. Staff training sessions, 2 weeks. Data migration and system testing, 3 weeks. Transition and ongoing support, 1 week. Evaluation and reporting, 1 week. Project management skills needed. Project planning and scheduling. Resource management and coordination. Risk assessment and mitigation. Communication and stakeholder management. Vendor selection and contract negotiation. Training program development and delivery. Change management and transition planning. Chapter 3: New Project Manager. As Jackie embarked on her project management journey, she realized that she had much to learn. The vast expanse of project management knowledge areas and process groups loomed before her, like an intricate maze waiting to be unraveled. But she was not alone on this daunting path, for she had a wise mentor named Phil by her side. Phil, a seasoned project management expert, had seen it all. With a wealth of experience and a heart full of passion for sharing knowledge, he became Jackie's trusted coach and guide. Together, they set out to conquer the challenges that lay ahead. Every step of the way, Jackie relied on Phil and his PMAnonymous.com program. Whenever she faced a roadblock or felt lost in the labyrinth of project management, she reached out to him. Their calls became a lifeline, a safe space where she could seek guidance and wisdom. Planning schedule, cost, and scope scenario. Jackie found herself knee-deep in planning, struggling to create a realistic schedule, estimate costs accurately, and define the project scope. With Phil's guidance, they dove into the intricacies of project planning, breaking down the tasks, sequencing activities, and estimating durations. Phil taught her how to develop a comprehensive schedule, align it with the project's budget, and ensure that the scope was well-defined and aligned with stakeholder expectations. Managing risk scenario. Risk management posed a significant challenge for Jackie. The project had its fair share of uncertainties, and Jackie felt overwhelmed by the prospect of identifying, analyzing, and responding to risks effectively. Phil patiently walked her through the process of risk identification, qualitative and quantitative risk analysis, and developing robust risk response strategies. Together, they created a risk register and implemented risk mitigation plans to safeguard the project's success. Dealing with difficult stakeholder scenario. Among the stakeholders, Jackie encountered a particularly troublesome individual named Belly, who vehemently resisted the shift from a paper-based world to a digital paradise. Belly's resistance caused disruptions and threatened to derail the project. With Phil's support, Jackie honed her stakeholder management skills. They strategized on how to address Belly's concerns, engage in open communication, and demonstrate the value of the case management system's digital transformation. Through their efforts, they were able to gradually win Belly's support and diffuse the stakeholder difficulties. As Jackie tackled these scenarios and many more, she began to grow in confidence. With each lesson from Phil, she became better equipped to navigate the intricacies of project management. The knowledge areas and process groups that once seemed overwhelming now became familiar territory. Their partnership and the PMAnonymous.com program became Jackie's secret weapon. Together, they uncovered the mysteries of project management, unraveling the threads of knowledge one by one. The calls with Phil became not just problem-solving sessions, but also moments of inspiration, encouragement, and growth. And so, armed with Phil's wisdom and the lessons learned, Jackie emerged as a capable and resilient project manager. She had gained a profound understanding of the project management knowledge areas, confidently applying the tools and techniques to steer the case management project towards success. Though the road was arduous and filled with challenges, Jackie's unwavering determination, coupled with Phil's unwavering support, propelled her forward. Their bond grew stronger with each triumph and setback, a testament to the power of mentorship and the human spirit. Together, they had transformed the project management journey into a shared adventure, a tale of resilience, learning, and triumph. And as Jackie embraced her newfound expertise, she knew that she was ready to face any project management challenge that came her way, armed with the knowledge, guidance, and unwavering support of her coach, Phil. Knowledge area scenarios. Let's explore knowledge area scenarios that unfolded on this project. Integration scenario. After careful consideration of the case management system implementation, the law firm's executive board authorizes the project and project manager to proceed. The project manager takes charge of integrating all the moving parts, including coordinating with the IT department, selecting a suitable software vendor, and developing a project plan to ensure a smooth implementation. Scope scenario. The project team conducts workshops and interviews with key stakeholders, including attorneys, paralegals, and administrative staff, to collect their requirements for the case management system. By identifying all the necessary functionalities and features, they define the scope of the project. They create a visual hierarchy of work, outlining the key deliverables and work breakdown structure, WBS, to meet the requirements. Schedule scenario. Jackie, the project manager, collaborates with the team to plan how to develop the project schedule. They create a list of tasks required for the case management system implementation, arrange them in chronological order, and estimate the time required for each task. By considering dependencies and resource availability, they create a comprehensive project schedule, ensuring all the tasks are properly sequenced. Cost scenario. The project manager plans how to manage project costs by estimating the cost for each task in the case management implementation project. They consider factors such as software procurement, hardware acquisition, training expenses, and potential consultancy fees. By adding up all the task costs, they determine the total budget for the project and ensure it aligns with the firm's financial constraints. Quality scenario. The project team plans how to manage the quality of the case management system and its deliverables. They establish quality control processes and conduct regular audits to check the progress of work. During the implementation phase, they inspect the developed software modules, ensuring compliance with the requirements before submitting them to the customer for approval. Resource scenario. The project manager develops a resource management plan, considering the quantity and type of resources required for the case management system implementation. They hire skilled team members, including software developers and implementation specialists, and acquire the necessary physical resources like servers and networking equipment. Throughout the project manager ensures that resources are effectively utilized and aligned with the project plan. Communication scenario. The project team plans what information needs to be communicated, why, and when, considering the various stakeholders involved. They establish a communication plan that outlines the channels and frequency of communication. Through regular meetings and distribution of necessary information, the team keeps stakeholders informed about project progress, updates, and potential changes. Risk scenario. The project team identifies potential risks associated with the case management system implementation project. They analyze these risks qualitatively and quantitatively, assessing the likelihood and impact of each risk. Based on the analysis, they develop risk response strategies to mitigate or transfer the risks. Throughout the project, they monitor risks, evaluate the effectiveness of the implemented risk responses, and identify any new risks that may arise. Procurement scenario. The project team evaluates whether to make or buy the case management system components. After careful consideration, they decide to procure the software from a reputable vendor. They initiate the procurement process, including preparing and issuing a request for proposal, RFP, evaluating vendor proposals, and awarding a contract to the selected vendor. The project team then monitors and manages the contract to ensure the delivery of benefits and agreed-upon deliverables. Stakeholder scenario. The project team identifies key stakeholders, including partners, lawyers, administrative staff, and end users of the case management system. They plan how to keep stakeholders interested and engaged throughout the project. By establishing effective communication channels and providing regular updates and demonstrations. Chapter 4, Process Groups. Jackie and Phil began their journey by diving into the initiating process group. Phil explained the importance of clearly defining project objectives and gaining stakeholder buy-in. Together, they worked on developing a project charter for Jackie's current assignment. Phil provided valuable insights and taught her how to effectively communicate with stakeholders, ensuring their support and commitment. Moving on to the planning process group, Jackie faced numerous challenges. She found it overwhelming to analyze all the project requirements, regulations, and constraints. Phil recognized her struggle and devised an engaging exercise to help Jackie break down complex information. With Phil's guidance, Jackie successfully developed a comprehensive project plan, including a detailed schedule, resource management plan, risk management plan, and communication plan. As Jackie ventured into the executing process group, she encountered some unexpected drama. The team she was working with had different personalities and conflicting work styles, resulting in communication breakdowns and a lack of collaboration. Phil, with his coaching expertise, facilitated team-building activities, encouraged open communication, and mediated conflicts. Through these efforts, Jackie successfully transformed the team into a high-performing unit, enabling them to execute tasks efficiently. However, the journey was far from smooth sailing. Stakeholder drama added an extra layer of complexity. One influential stakeholder had a sudden change in priorities, demanding last-minute changes that threatened to derail the project. With Phil's guidance, Jackie learned how to manage stakeholder expectations, navigate difficult conversations, and negotiate compromises while staying focused on project objectives. To make matters even more challenging, one of Jackie's key suppliers made a massive mistake. They failed to deliver critical components on time, jeopardizing the project's progress. This unexpected turn of events tested Jackie's ability to think on her feet and mitigate the risks. Working closely with Phil, she developed a contingency plan, identified alternative suppliers, and renegotiated timelines. Despite the supplier's blunder, Jackie successfully minimized the impact on the project and maintained stakeholder trust. As the project entered the monitoring and controlling process group, Jackie faced her biggest test yet. She had to keep a close eye on project performance, address emerging risks promptly, and ensure that the project stayed on track. Phil introduced her to effective monitoring and reporting techniques, empowering Jackie to make data-driven decisions and implement corrective actions when necessary. With her newly acquired skills, she successfully navigated the project through various obstacles, maintaining control and delivering value to stakeholders. In the end, Jackie reached the closing process group. Reflecting on her journey, she realized how much she had grown as a project manager. She appreciated the valuable mentorship of Phil, whose guidance and expertise had been instrumental in her success. Together, they celebrated the completion of the project, sharing stories of their exciting and dramatic journey through the process groups. Through the roller coaster of challenges, drama, and victories, Jackie emerged as a skilled project manager, well-versed in the intricacies of the process groups. Armed with her newfound knowledge and experience, she was ready to take on even greater project management endeavors in the future. Process group scenarios. Here are 5 additional process group scenarios, each corresponding to one of the 5 process groups in project management: initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, and closing. Initiating process group scenario. Project approval and authorization scenario. An organization decides to undertake a new software development project. The project manager is responsible for initiating the project. Process group steps. Define the project's purpose and objectives. Conduct a feasibility study to assess the project's viability. Develop a project charter outlining the project scope, objectives, stakeholders, and high-level requirements. Identify key project stakeholders and gain their approval and support. Obtain authorization from the appropriate authority or sponsor to proceed with the project. Establish the initial project team and allocate necessary resources. Planning process group scenario. Construction project planning scenario. A construction company is planning to build a commercial complex. The project manager needs to create a comprehensive plan to guide the project execution. Process group steps. Define the project scope and objectives, including specific deliverables and milestones. Conduct a thorough analysis of the project requirements, regulations, and constraints. Develop a detailed project schedule, including task sequencing and dependencies. Create a resource management plan, identifying required personnel, equipment, and materials. Perform a risk assessment and develop a risk management plan. Prepare a communication plan outlining how project information will be shared among stakeholders. Establish a procurement plan for acquiring necessary resources and services. Develop a budget, considering costs for labor, materials, equipment, and contingencies. Executing process group scenario. Marketing campaign execution scenario. A marketing agency has designed a comprehensive marketing campaign for a client. The project manager needs to execute the campaign effectively. Process group steps. Assign tasks and responsibilities to the project team members. Coordinate with vendors and external agencies for campaign execution. Implement marketing strategies, such as social media advertising, content creation, and email marketing. Monitor the progress of the campaign activities and ensure they are on track. Conduct regular team meetings and provide necessary guidance and support. Manage stakeholder expectations and address any concerns or issues promptly. Document and track campaign expenses to ensure adherence to the budget. Implement a quality assurance process to maintain campaign effectiveness. Monitoring and controlling process group scenario. IT system upgrade scenario. An IT department is upgrading its existing system infrastructure. The project manager needs to monitor and control the project's progress. Process group steps. Establish performance baselines for the project, including schedule, cost, and quality targets. Monitor the project's key performance indicators, such as milestones, budget utilization, and system reliability. Conduct regular status meetings to review project progress, identify issues, and track action items. Perform regular quality audits to ensure adherence to established standards. Implement a change control process to evaluate and approve any requested changes. Analyze project risks and take necessary actions to mitigate or respond to them. Continuously communicate project status and progress to stakeholders. Adjust project plans and resources as needed to keep the project on track. Closing process group scenario. Product launch completion scenario. A company has successfully developed a new product and is ready to launch it in the market. The project manager needs to close out the project. Process group steps. Obtain final acceptance from the client or stakeholders for the delivered product. Conduct a project review to assess performance, lessons learned, and project outcomes. Complete all project documentation, including final reports, user manuals, and technical specifications. Archive project records and organize project files for future reference. Perform a financial closeout, reconciling project costs against the approved budget. Conduct a formal project closure meeting to thank the project team members and celebrate project success. Conduct a post-project evaluation to assess the overall project performance and identify areas for improvement. Evaluate the project's impact on the organization and capture any benefits realized. Close out any remaining contracts, agreements, or procurement activities related to the project. Communicate project closure to all stakeholders, including clients, team members, and relevant departments. Perform a knowledge transfer session to capture and document lessons learned from the project. Conduct a final project audit or review to ensure compliance with organizational policies and procedures. Archive project documentation and update organizational repositories with relevant project information. Celebrate project success and recognize the contributions of the project team members. By following these steps in the closing process group, the project manager ensures a smooth and organized closure of the project, effectively wrapping up all project activities and delivering the final outcomes to the stakeholders. Chapter 5, Process Expansion. Phil, the charismatic project management coach, gathered Jackie and the rest of the team in the conference room for an exciting and immersive lesson. With a mischievous grin, he pulled out a drawing of a racing car and placed it in the center of the room. Now, my dear project management enthusiasts, Phil declared, today, we're embarking on a thrilling journey through the 49 processes, but we won't be sitting back and memorizing them. Oh no! We're going to dive into each process, rev up our imaginations, and become the fearless drivers of our projects. With the room buzzing with anticipation, Phil continued, imagine yourself in the driver's seat, gripping the steering wheel tight. Feel the exhilaration as we zoom through the process groups, one by one, exploring their twists and turns. He pointed to the drawing of the car and began, our first process, initiating, is like strapping on your seatbelt, adjusting your mirrors, and checking your GPS. You're setting off on a thrilling adventure, defining your destination, and gathering your project crew. As the group leaned in, eager for more, Phil described each process with flair and creativity. For the planning process group, he painted a vivid picture of drafting intricate roadmaps, determining the best routes, and carefully calculating the pit stops for resources and risks. When they reached the executing process group, Phil shifted gears. "Now, imagine your project as a high-speed race," he exclaimed. "Your team becomes a well-oiled pit crew, executing tasks with precision. You navigate through tight turns, passing milestones like a champion, all while juggling stakeholder demands and ensuring seamless communication." Suddenly, the room erupted in laughter as Phil animatedly acted out a comical scene, imitating a demanding stakeholder pulling the project manager in multiple directions. Yes, folks, stakeholder drama can sometimes feel like a crazy circus act, but fear not. We'll learn how to tame those lions and keep the show running smoothly, he quipped, sparking enthusiasm and understanding among the participants. Then came the thrilling twist: supplier value gone awry. Phil narrated a story of a hapless project manager, struggling to recover from a supplier's colossal mistake. The room gasped as they imagined the chaos and brainstormed innovative solutions to get the project back on track. As Phil navigated through the monitoring and controlling process group, he drew parallels to a master driver analyzing real-time data on the dashboard, swiftly making course corrections, and skillfully avoiding potential roadblocks. Finally, as they approached the closing process group, Phil concluded, "Picture yourself crossing the finish line, confetti raining down, and the crowd cheering. You've successfully completed your project, celebrated achievements, and captured valuable lessons learned. It's time to take a victory lap." The room erupted in applause and laughter, with Jackie and her teammates feeling energized and eager to tackle the 49 processes head-on. With Phil's engaging and imaginative approach, they had not only understood the context and purpose of each process, but also built a strong foundation for effective project management. Armed with this newfound excitement, they couldn't wait to embark on their own project management adventures, armed with a clear roadmap and the confidence to navigate any twists and turns that lay ahead. Chapter 6: 49 Process Scenarios. Here are 49 short scenarios for each of the 49 processes, based on the PMBOK Guide 6th edition, with major outputs generated from each process. Integration Management. Develop Project Charter Scenario. The law firm's executive board authorizes the initiation of the case management system implementation project, providing the project manager with the authority to allocate resources and lead the project team. Major output: Project Charter. Develop Project Management Plan Scenario. The project manager works with the team to develop a comprehensive project management plan that outlines the project's objectives, scope, schedule, budget, quality requirements, and risk management approach. Major output: Project Management Plan. Direct and manage project work scenario. The project manager assigns tasks to team members, oversees their work, and ensures that the case management system implementation progresses according to the project plan. Major output: deliverables and issue log. Manage project knowledge scenario. Throughout the project team documents and shares knowledge, best practices, and lessons learned to facilitate continuous improvement and knowledge transfer within the law firm. Major output: lessons learned register. Monitor and control project work scenario. The project manager regularly monitors the project's progress, compares it against the planned objectives, and takes corrective actions to address any deviations from the plan. Major output: work performance report. Perform integrated change control scenario. As the case management system implementation progresses, change requests arise. The project manager reviews these requests, assesses their impacts, and decides whether to approve or reject them based on the project's objectives and constraints. Major output: approved change request and change log. Close project or phase scenario. After successfully implementing the case management system and achieving the project objectives, the project manager formally closes the project, documenting lessons learned and archiving project-related documents. Major output: final product, service or result transition and final report. Integration scenario type questions, PMP level. Integration Question 1. You are the project manager for a new software development project. The project is currently in the execution phase. You have recently received a change request from the customer. The change request would add a new feature to the software. The new feature would require additional work from the development team. The project is already behind schedule and over budget. What should you do? Options. Accept the change request and adjust the project plan accordingly. Reject the change request and inform the customer of the reasons for the rejection. Hold a meeting with the customer to discuss the change request and negotiate a solution. Do nothing and hope that the change request will not have a significant impact on the project. Answer. The best option in this situation is to hold a meeting with the customer to discuss the change request and negotiate a solution. This will allow you to understand the customer's needs and to work with them to find a solution that meets both their needs and the project's constraints. Rationale. The other options are not as good as the first option because they do not address the customer's needs. Option 2 would simply reject the change request, which could lead to customer dissatisfaction. Option 1 would be reckless and could result in undesirable consequences. Option 4 would not address the change request at all, which could lead to even more problems down the road. By holding a meeting with the customer, you can get a better understanding of their needs and work with them to find a solution that meets both their needs and the project's constraints. This will help to ensure that the project is successful and that the customer is satisfied. Integration Question 2. You are a project manager for a software development project. The project is in its execution phase, and there have been several requested changes from the stakeholders. You have assessed the impact of the changes, and they are approved by the Change Control Board, CCB. What should be your next step? Options. Update the project management plan and project documents to reflect the approved changes and ensure the development team is aware of these changes. Inform the stakeholders about the approved changes and proceed with the changes in the development without updating the project management plan. Reject the changes as they were not part of the initial project scope and could lead to scope creep. Update only the project schedule and cost baseline, as they are most likely to be affected by the changes. Answer. A. Update the project management plan and project documents to reflect the approved changes and ensure the development team is aware of these changes. Rationale. In integration management, once changes are approved by the Change Control Board, CCB, the next step is to update the project management plan and project documents to reflect the approved changes. This ensures that all elements of the project remain integrated and aligned. Communicating these changes to the team is also crucial to ensure that they are implemented correctly. The other options are incorrect because they either miss essential steps, like updating the project management plan, or suggest actions that are contrary to good project management practices, like rejecting approved changes. Scope management. Plan scope management scenario. The project team plans how to define, manage, and control the project scope, ensuring that the case management system implementation addresses all the required functionalities and features. Major output, scope management plan and requirements management plan. Collect requirements scenario. The project team conducts interviews, surveys, and workshops with the law firm's attorneys, paralegals, and administrative staff to gather their specific requirements for the case management system. Major output, requirements traceability matrix and requirements documentation. Define scope scenario. The project team collaborates with stakeholders to clearly define and document the boundaries and deliverables of the case management system, ensuring a shared understanding of project objectives. Create WBS scenario. The project team decomposes the case management system project's deliverables into smaller, manageable work packages, creating a work breakdown structure, WBS, that provides a hierarchical view of the project scope. Validate scope scenario. After completing the development of the case management system, the project team presents the deliverables to the law firm stakeholders for inspection and approval. Major output, accepted deliverables. Control scope scenario. As the case management system implementation progresses, the project team monitors and controls changes to the project scope, ensuring that only approved changes are implemented. Major output, change requests and work performance information. Scope scenario type questions, PMP level. Scope question 1. You are the project manager for a new construction project. The project is currently in the execution phase. You have recently received a change request from the customer. The change request would add a new room to the building. The new room would require additional work from the construction team. The project is already behind schedule and over budget. What should you do next as the project manager? Options. Approve the change request and adjust the project plan immediately. Reject the change request and inform the customer of the reasons for the rejection. Hold a meeting with the customer to discuss the change request and negotiate a solution. Do nothing and hope that the change request will not have a significant impact on the project. Answer. The best option in this situation is to hold a meeting with the customer to discuss the change request and negotiate a solution. This will allow you to understand the customer's needs and to work with them to find a solution that meets both their needs and the project's constraints. This is code for CCB, Change Control Board. Rationale. The other options are not as good as the first option because they do not address the customer's needs. Option 2 would simply reject the change request, which could lead to customer dissatisfaction. Option 1 does not pass the change request through some approval/dialogue process. Option 4 would not address the change request at all, which could lead to even more problems down the road. By holding a meeting with the customer, you can get a better understanding of their needs and work with them to find a solution that meets both their needs and the project's constraints. This will help to ensure that the project is successful and that the customer is satisfied. Scope question 2. You are a project manager of a construction project. One of the major stakeholders has requested a significant change to the project scope that will require additional time and resources. However, the stakeholder insists that the project completion date remains the same. How should you handle this situation? Options. Accept the change request without further analysis to maintain a positive relationship with the stakeholder. Reject the change request outright, as it could lead to project delays. Analyze the impact of the change request on the project's time, cost, and resources. If the change is feasible, submit it to the Change Control Board, CCB, for approval. Inform the stakeholder that such changes cannot be accommodated due to the project's fixed deadline. Answer. C. Analyze the impact of the change request on the project's time, cost, and resources. If the change is feasible, submit it to the Change Control Board, CCB, for approval. Rationale. In scope management, when a change is requested, the project manager should first analyze the impact of the change on various aspects of the project including time, cost, and resources. If the change is deemed feasible after this analysis, it should then be submitted to the Change Control Board, CCB, for approval. This process helps to maintain the control over the project scope and ensures that changes are managed in a structured manner. The other options are incorrect because they either suggest accepting or rejecting the change without proper analysis, or they ignore the process of formal change control. Schedule management. Plan schedule management scenario. The project team plans how to develop, manage, and control the project schedule, considering dependencies, resource availability, and the critical path for the case management system implementation. Major output, schedule management plan. Define activities scenario. The project team identifies and defines the specific activities required to complete the case management system implementation, breaking down the project deliverables into manageable tasks. Major output, activity list, activity attributes, milestone list. Sequence activities scenario. The project team determines the logical sequence and dependencies among the identified activities, establishing the order in which tasks should be executed for the case management system implementation. Major output, project schedule network diagrams. Estimate activity duration scenario. The project team estimates the time required to complete each activity within the case management system implementation project, considering factors such as resources, skill levels, and historical data. Major output, duration estimates. Develop schedule scenario. Using the activity duration estimates and activity dependencies, the project team develops a realistic and feasible project schedule for the case management system implementation, incorporating all the identified tasks and milestones. Major output, project schedule, schedule baseline, schedule data, and project calendars. Control schedule scenario. The project manager regularly tracks and controls the project schedule, monitoring progress, identifying schedule variances, and taking appropriate actions to ensure the project stays on track. Major output, schedule forecasts, change requests, and work performance information. Schedule scenario type questions, PMP level. Schedule question 1. You are the project manager for a new software development project. The project is currently in the execution phase. You have recently received a change request from the customer. The change request would add a new feature to the software. The new feature would require additional work from the development team. The project is already behind schedule. What should you do next? Options. Fast-track the project by working additional hours. Crash the project by reducing the scope of the project. Rebaseline the project by adjusting the project schedule and budget. Do nothing and hope that the project will not be delayed further. Answer. The best option in this situation is to rebaseline the project by adjusting the project schedule and budget. This will allow you to take into account the impact of the change request and to develop a new plan that is realistic and achievable. Rationale. The other options are not as good as the first option because they do not address the project schedule constraints. Option 1 would simply work additional hours, which could lead to burnout and quality problems. This is also not fast-tracking in essence. Fast-tracking is performing tasks in parallel, not just literally adding hours. Option 2 would reduce the scope of the project, which could lead to customer dissatisfaction. This is not what crashing is. Option 4 would not address the change request at all, which could lead to further delays and cost overruns. By rebaselining the project, you can take into account the impact of the change request and develop a new plan that is realistic and achievable. This will help to ensure that the project is completed on time and within budget. Schedule question 2. As a project manager, you are overseeing the development of a new mobile application. The project is behind schedule due to unforeseen technical challenges. The client has a firm launch date and it's critical to meet this deadline. What should be your next step? Options. A. Inform the client that the project will be delayed due to technical challenges and ask for an extension. B. Look for opportunities to fast-track or crash the schedule without compromising on the scope and quality of the project. C. Reduce the project scope to meet the deadline without informing the client. D. Assign more tasks to the existing team members to speed up the project progress. Answer. B. Look for opportunities to fast-track or crash the schedule without compromising on the scope and quality of the project. Rationale. In schedule management, when the project is behind schedule, the project manager should first look into schedule compression techniques like fast-tracking, doing tasks in parallel that were planned sequentially, or crashing, adding resources to critical path tasks. This helps to meet the project timeline without compromising the scope and quality. The other options are either not following good project management practices, like reducing scope without informing the client or overloading team members, or not exploring all available options to meet the original deadline, like immediately asking for an extension. Cost management. Plan cost management scenario. The project team plans how to estimate, manage, and control costs throughout the case management system implementation project, considering factors such as resource costs, procurement expenses, and potential risks. Major output, cost management plan. Estimate cost scenario. The project team estimates the costs associated with each activity and resource required for the case management system implementation, including software licenses, hardware purchases, training fees, and any external consultancy costs. Major output, cost estimates and basis of estimates. Determine budget scenario. Based on the cost estimates, the project team determines the overall budget for the case management system implementation project, taking into account funding availability and financial constraints of the law firm. Major output, cost baseline, project funding requirements. Control cost scenario. The project manager monitors and controls project costs, tracking expenses, comparing them against the budget, and taking corrective actions to prevent cost overruns during the case management system implementation. Major output, cost forecasts, change requests, and work performance information. Cost scenario type questions, PMP level. Cost question 1. You are the project manager for a new software development project. The project is currently in the execution phase. You have recently received a cost estimate from the development team. The cost estimate is significantly higher than the budget that was approved by the project sponsor. Options. Ask the development team to reduce the scope of the project. Ask the project sponsor for additional funding. Review the cost estimate with the development team to identify any areas where costs can be reduced. Do nothing and hope that the project will not go over budget. Answer. The best option in this situation is to review the cost estimate with the development team to identify any areas where costs can be reduced. This will allow you to find a solution that meets the project's needs while also staying within budget. This is in line with the PMI trade-offs idea. Always trade off where possible. Rationale. The other options are not as good as the first option because they do not address the project's cost constraints. Option 1 would reduce the scope of the project, which could lead to customer dissatisfaction. Option 2 would require the project sponsor to approve additional funding, which may not be possible. Option 4 would not address the cost overrun at all, which could lead to further problems down the road. By reviewing the cost estimate with the development team, you can identify areas where costs can be reduced without compromising the project's scope or quality. This will help to ensure that the project is completed on time and within budget. Cost question 2. You are a project manager of an infrastructure project. Halfway through the project, you realize that actual costs are consistently exceeding the budgeted costs, and at this rate, the project will be significantly over budget by completion. What should you do next? Options. Inform the project sponsor about the situation and request additional budget without analyzing the cause of the overruns. Ignore the cost overruns, as such deviations are common in infrastructure projects. Conduct a variance analysis to identify the cause of the cost overruns and develop a plan to bring the costs under control. Reduce the project scope to save costs without informing the stakeholders. Answer. C. Conduct a variance analysis to identify the cause of the cost overruns and develop a plan to bring the costs under control. Rationale. In cost management, when actual costs exceed budgeted costs, the first step the project manager should take is to conduct a variance analysis to understand the root cause of the cost overruns. This could be due to incorrect estimates, unforeseen risks, or inefficiencies in project execution. Once the cause is identified, a plan should be developed to control costs, which could include process improvements, cost-cutting measures, or re-estimating the costs. Simply asking for additional budget without understanding the problem, ignoring the problem, or reducing the scope without informing stakeholders are not appropriate project management responses. Quality management. Plan quality management scenario. The project team develops a plan to ensure that the case management system implementation meets the required quality standards and aligns with the law firm's expectations and industry best practices. Major output. Quality management plan. Manage quality scenario. Throughout the case management system implementation, the project team implements quality control processes, conducts inspections, and performs audits to verify that the work is meeting the defined quality criteria. Major output, test and evaluation documents. Control quality scenario. The project team monitors and controls the quality of the case management system deliverables, using quality metrics, inspections, and customer feedback to identify and address any deviations or nonconformities. Major output, verified deliverables, quality control measurements, change requests, and work performance information. Quality scenario type questions, PMP level. Quality question 1. You are the project manager for a new software development project. The project is currently in the execution phase. You have recently received a report from the quality assurance team. The report indicates that there are a number of defects in the software. What should you do next? Options. Ignore the report and hope that the defects will not be found by the customer during the scope of the project and go into warranty. Ask the development team to fix the defects as soon as possible to uphold cost of poor performance. Hold a meeting with the development team to discuss the defects and to develop a plan to fix them. Do nothing and hope that the customer will not be too disappointed with the defects. Answer. The best option in this situation is to hold a meeting with the development team to discuss the defects and to develop a plan to fix them. This will allow you to understand the nature of the defects and to develop a solution that is both effective and efficient. Rationale. The other options are not as good as the first option because they do not address the quality issues. Option 1 would ignore the defects, which could lead to customer dissatisfaction. Option 2 would ask the development team to fix the defects as soon as possible, but this may not be feasible or may not be the best solution. Option 4 would do nothing, which could lead to even more problems down the road. By holding a meeting with the development team, you can get a better understanding of the defects and to develop a solution that is both effective and efficient. This will help to ensure that the project is completed on time and within budget, and that the customer is satisfied with the final product. Quality question 2. You are the project manager of a software development project. During testing, the quality team has identified more defects than anticipated, indicating a potential problem with the quality of the software. You have reviewed the situation and it's clear that this trend might continue if not addressed. What should the project manager do next? Options. Ignore the defects and proceed with the project to avoid delays in the schedule. Inform the client about the defects and suggest postponing the release date in order to detect the problems and find more possible defects. Conduct a root cause analysis to identify the source of the quality issues and take corrective actions to prevent the recurrence of similar defects. Blame the development team for the defects and require them to work extra hours to fix the issues. Answer. C. Conduct a root cause analysis to identify the source of the quality issues and take corrective actions to prevent the recurrence of similar defects. Rationale. In quality management, when the number of defects exceeds the acceptable limit, the appropriate response is to perform a root cause analysis to identify the source of the quality issues. Once the cause is identified, corrective actions should be taken to prevent similar defects in the future. This approach helps maintain the quality of the project deliverables and reduces the chances of rework. The other options are not appropriate because ignoring defects, blaming the team, or immediately suggesting a delay without investigating the cause does not align with good project management practices. Resource management. Plan resource management scenario. The project team plans how to identify, acquire, manage, and optimize the resources required for the successful implementation of the case management system, including human resources, physical assets, and technology. Major output, resource management plan and team charter. Estimate activity resources scenario. The project team estimates the type and quantity of resources required for each activity within the case management system implementation, considering factors such as skill sets, availability, and resource constraints. Major output, resource requirements. Acquire resources scenario. The project manager acquires the necessary resources, such as skilled personnel, software licenses, servers, and other physical assets, to support the case management system implementation according to the project plan. Major output, physical resource assignments and project team assignments. Develop team scenario. The project manager focuses on developing a cohesive and skilled project team for the case management system implementation, fostering teamwork, providing training opportunities, and addressing any conflicts or issues that arise. Major output, team performance assessments. Manage team scenario. The project manager provides guidance, direction, and support to the project team members, facilitating effective communication, resolving conflicts, and motivating them to achieve project objectives during the case management system implementation. Major output, change requests. Control resources scenario. The project manager monitors and controls the utilization and availability of resources throughout the case management system implementation, ensuring that resources are allocated efficiently and in alignment with the project objectives. Major output, change requests. Resource scenario type questions, PMP level. Resource question 1. You are the project manager for a new software development project. The project is currently in the execution phase. You have recently received a report from the resource management team. The report indicates that there is a shortage of resources for the project. Options. Ignore the report and hope that the shortage of resources will not impact the project. Apply a crashing technique. Engage the development team to work overtime to make up for the shortage of resources. Hold a meeting with the development team to discuss the shortage of resources and to develop a plan to mitigate its impact. Review the charter and all necessary documents and hope that the customer will not be too disappointed with the project's delays. Answer. The best option in this situation is to hold a meeting with the development team to discuss the shortage of resources and to develop a plan to mitigate its impact. This will allow you to understand the nature of the shortage and to develop a solution that is both effective and efficient. Rationale. The other options are not as good as the first option because they do not address the resource shortage. Option 1 would ignore the shortage, which could lead to delays and cost overruns. Option 2 would ask the development team to work overtime, which could lead to burnout and quality problems. Option 4 would do nothing, which could lead to even more problems down the road. By holding a meeting with the development team, you can get a better understanding of the shortage and to develop a solution that is both effective and efficient. This will help to ensure that the project is completed on time and within budget, and that the customer is satisfied with the final product. Resource question 2. As a project manager, you are leading a team developing a new e-commerce platform. One of the key team members, who is responsible for a critical component of the project, has just resigned. The project schedule is tight and this could potentially cause a delay. What should the project manager do next? Options. Take on the tasks of the resigned team member personally to ensure that the project remains on schedule. Immediately hire a new team member and expect them to pick up where the previous member left off without any handover. Conduct a knowledge transfer session with the resigning team member, if possible, and then reassess the project schedule and resource allocation. Ignore the resignation and distribute the tasks of the resigned team member among the remaining team members without reassessing the project schedule. Answer. C. Conduct a knowledge transfer session with the resigning team member, if possible, and then reassess the project schedule and resource allocation. Rationale. In resource management, when a key team member leaves, it's important to ensure that their knowledge and experience are not lost. Conducting a knowledge transfer session, if possible, is crucial. The project manager should then reassess the project schedule and resource allocation, considering the impact of the resource loss and planning accordingly. Taking on the tasks personally, hiring a new team member without a proper handover, or simply distributing tasks without reassessing the project schedule does not align with good project management practices. Communications management. Plan communications management scenario. The project team develops a communication plan that outlines the necessary information to be communicated, the stakeholders involved, the communication methods, and the frequency of updates for the case management system implementation. Major output, communications management plan. Manage communications scenario. The project team disseminates relevant and timely information to stakeholders, ensuring that communication flows effectively among team members, law firm partners, end users, and other relevant parties involved in the case management system implementation. Major output, project communications. Monitor communication scenario. The project manager monitors the effectiveness of the communication plan and adjusts communication strategies as necessary to ensure that project information is reaching the intended recipients and that any feedback or concerns are addressed promptly. Major output, change requests. Communication scenario type questions, PMP level. Communications question 1. You are a project manager overseeing a large software implementation project. The project sponsor informs you that some stakeholders have expressed concerns about not receiving timely and accurate information regarding the project's progress. As the project manager, what should you do next? Options. Ignore the stakeholders' concerns, as you believe the current communication methods are sufficient. Immediately set up a meeting with all stakeholders to address their concerns and provide a project update. Review the communication management plan, identify gaps or inefficiencies, and update the plan as needed to ensure effective communication with stakeholders. Send an email to all stakeholders with the latest project status report without analyzing the communication issues. Answer. C. Review the communication management plan, identify gaps or inefficiencies, and update the plan as needed to ensure effective communication with stakeholders. Rationale. In communications management, when stakeholders express concerns about the information they receive, the project manager should review the communication management plan to identify any gaps or inefficiencies. The plan should be updated as needed to ensure that stakeholders receive timely and accurate information about the project. Ignoring the stakeholders' concerns, holding a single meeting, or just sending an email without addressing the root cause of the communication issues does not align with good project management practices. Communications question 2. You are the project manager for a new software development project. The project is currently in the execution phase. You have recently received feedback from the customer that they are not happy with the communication they are receiving from the project team. What should you do next? Options. Create a communications report with the feedback and ensure that the customer will be satisfied with the project's final product. Ask the development team to communicate more frequently with the customer. Hold a meeting with the customer to discuss their communication needs and to develop a plan to improve communication. Do nothing and hope that the customer will not be too disappointed with the project's final product. Answer. C. The best option in this situation is to hold a meeting with the customer to discuss their communication needs and to develop a plan to improve communication. This will allow you to understand the customer's needs and to develop a solution that is both effective and efficient. Rationale. The other options are not as good as the answer because they do not address the customer's communication needs. Option 1 would ignore the feedback, which could lead to further dissatisfaction from the customer. Option 2 would ask the development team to communicate more frequently, but this may not be enough to meet the customer's needs. Option 4 would do nothing, which could lead to even more problems down the road. By holding a meeting with the customer, you can get a better understanding of their needs and to develop a solution that is both effective and efficient. This will help to ensure that the customer is satisfied with the project's final product. Communications question 3. The project team is spread across multiple locations, and there is a lack of effective communication channels resulting in delays, misunderstandings, and decreased productivity. The project manager, PM, needs to take immediate action to improve communication within the team. What should the PM do next to enhance communications management? A. Conduct a stakeholder analysis to identify the key stakeholders and their communication needs. Develop a comprehensive communication plan that includes the appropriate channels, frequency, and methods for communicating with each stakeholder. B. Implement a project management software or collaboration tool that enables real-time communication, document sharing, and centralized project updates. Provide training and support to the team members to facilitate the adoption and effective utilization of the tool. C. Schedule regular team meetings and conference calls to facilitate open and transparent communication among team members. Encourage active participation, provide a platform for sharing updates, addressing concerns, and fostering a collaborative environment. D. Assign a dedicated communication coordinator or liaison within the project team to facilitate communication and act as a central point of contact for all team members. This individual would ensure timely distribution of information, address communication gaps, and proactively resolve any communication-related issues. Answer: the PM should select option B, implement a project management software or collaboration tool that enables real-time communication, document sharing, and centralized project updates. Rationale: by leveraging technology, such as project management software or collaboration tools, the PM can enhance communication within the team, enable real-time collaboration, and ensure everyone has access to up-to-date project information. Note that a key problem here was delays within the team. In order to overcome delays, one must enable real-time communication. Risk management. Plan risk management scenario. The project team identifies potential risks and develops a risk management plan for the case management system implementation, outlining strategies to identify, analyze, respond to, and monitor risks throughout the project lifecycle. Major output: risk management plan. Identify risk scenario. The project team proactively identifies and documents potential risks associated with the case management system implementation, considering factors such as technical complexities, stakeholder dependencies, regulatory requirements, and resource availability. Major output: risk register. Perform qualitative risk analysis scenario. The project team assesses the identified risks qualitatively, considering their probability of occurrence, potential impacts, and priority levels. This analysis helps prioritize risks for further analysis and response planning. Major output: risk register updates. Perform quantitative risk analysis scenario. For selected high-priority risks, the project team conducts a quantitative analysis to estimate their potential impacts on project objectives, such as cost, schedule, or quality. This analysis provides a more accurate assessment of the risks and helps in decision-making. Major output: risk register updates. Plan risk responses scenario. Based on the results of qualitative and quantitative risk analyses, the project team develops and documents risk response strategies for each identified risk. These strategies may include risk mitigation, risk avoidance, risk transfer, or acceptance, depending on the nature and severity of the risks. Major output: risk register updates. Implement risk responses scenario. As identified risks materialize during the case management system implementation, the project team implements the predefined risk response strategies to mitigate or address the impacts of those risks effectively. This may involve contingency plans, risk transfer, or proactive measures to minimize the likelihood or severity of potential risks. Major output: risk register updates. Monitor risk scenario. The project manager continuously monitors the identified risks, evaluates their status and impact, and identifies any new risks that may arise during the case management system implementation. Regular risk reviews are conducted to ensure that the risk management strategies remain effective and appropriate. Major output: risk register updates. Risk scenario type questions, PMP level. Risk question 1. You are the project manager for a new software development project. The project is currently in the execution phase. You have recently identified a new risk that could impact the project. The risk is that the software will not meet the customer's requirements. What should you do next? Options. Share the risk and hope that it does not materialize. Develop a risk response plan to mitigate the risk. Ask the customer to change their requirements. Aim for the best result by developing a solid schedule. Answer B. The best option in this situation is to develop a risk response plan to mitigate the risk. This will allow you to take steps to reduce the likelihood or impact of the risk. Rationale. The other options are not as good as option B because they do not address the risk. Option 1 would not make sense as this is a positive response to a negative risk. Option 3 would ask the customer to change their requirements, but this may not be possible or may not be in the best interests of the project. Option 4 would do nothing about the risk. It focuses on a schedule response, which has nothing to do with the real risk. By developing a risk response plan, you can take steps to reduce the likelihood or impact of the risk. This will help to ensure that the project is successful and that the customer is satisfied with the final product. Risk question 2. You are managing a project to construct a new bridge. During risk identification, your team has identified a potential risk associated with the delivery of custom materials that are critical to the project's timeline. The delivery of these materials is dependent on a single supplier, and any delay could significantly impact the project schedule. As the project manager, what should you do next? Options. Ignore the risk as it is not within your control and focus on risks that can be managed internally. Accept the risk and continue with the project, hoping that the supplier will deliver on time. Develop a risk response strategy or creating contingency plans in case the delivery is delayed. Immediately look for another supplier without further analysis. This will prevent a bad outcome. Answer C. Develop a risk response strategy or creating contingency plans in case the delivery is delayed. Rationale. In risk management, when a risk is identified, the next step is to analyze and develop a risk response strategy. This could include risk transfer, example, purchasing insurance, risk mitigation, example, having a backup supplier, or creating contingency plans to handle potential delays. The other options such as ignoring the risk, simply accepting it without a response strategy, or making hasty decisions like immediately looking for another supplier without further analysis, do not align with good project management practices. Risk question 3. The project team has identified several high-impact risks that could potentially derail the project. The project manager, PM, needs to take immediate action to effectively manage these high-probability risks and mitigate their potential negative consequences. What should the PM do next to proactively manage project risks? Develop a comprehensive risk response plan that outlines specific strategies for mitigating, transferring, or accepting each identified risk. Assign responsibilities, allocate necessary resources, and establish a monitoring mechanism to ensure the effectiveness of the implemented risk responses. Conduct a qualitative and quantitative risk analysis to assess the probability and impact of each identified risk. Prioritize risks based on their severity and develop appropriate response strategies accordingly. Engage with subject matter experts and key stakeholders to gather insights and perspectives on the identified risks. Leverage their expertise to identify additional risks, assess their potential impact, and collaboratively develop mitigation plans. Establish a risk register that documents all identified risks, including their potential impact, probability, and recommended response strategies. Regularly review and update the risk register throughout the project lifecycle to ensure its relevance and effectiveness. Answer A. Rationale. Did you realize the probability and impact are deduced already? We already know the probability and impact of these risks. Option B, C, and D have been completed. The PM should therefore develop a comprehensive risk response plan that outlines specific strategies for mitigating, transferring, or accepting each identified risk. By developing a risk response plan, the PM can systematically address each identified risk, define appropriate actions, and allocate necessary resources to minimize their potential impact on the project. Procurement management. Plan procurement management scenario. The project team identifies the need for external procurements, such as software licenses, hardware acquisitions, or consulting services, and develops a procurement management plan. This plan outlines the procurement approach, vendor selection criteria, and contract management strategies. Major output: procurement management plan, procurement statement of work, procurement strategy, independent cost estimates, source selection criteria, make or buy decisions, and bid documents. Conduct procurement scenario. Following the procurement management plan, the project team initiates the procurement process, which involves soliciting proposals, evaluating vendor bids, and selecting the most suitable vendors or suppliers for the required goods or services related to the case management system implementation. Major output: agreements and selected sellers. Control procurement scenario. Once the contracts are awarded, the project manager monitors and controls the execution of procurement agreements, ensuring that vendors or suppliers deliver as per the agreed terms, timelines, and quality standards. Any contract variations or issues are addressed promptly. Major output: closed procurements. Procurement scenario type questions, PMP level. Procurement question 1. You are the project manager for a new software development project. The project is currently in the execution phase. You have recently received a quote from a vendor for the development of the software. The quote is significantly higher than the budget that was approved by the project sponsor. Options: negotiate with the vendor to lower the price. Ask the project sponsor for additional funding. Cancel the project. Do nothing and hope that the vendor will lower the price. Answer: A. The best option in this situation is to negotiate with the vendor to lower the price. This will allow you to get the best possible price for the software development services. Rationale: the other options are not as good as the first option because they do not address the cost overrun. Option 2 would require the project sponsor to approve additional funding, which may not be possible. Option 3 would cancel the project, which would be a last resort. Option 4 would do nothing, which could lead to further cost overruns. By negotiating with the vendor, you can get the best possible price for the software development services. This will help to ensure that the project is completed on time and within budget. Did you read the question incorrectly as the sponsor approved the vendor? Beware of that on the real exam. Procurement question 2. You are the project manager of a software development project. Your team has identified a need to outsource a part of the project due to lack of internal resources with the required expertise. This is the first time your organization is considering outsourcing. As the project manager, what should you do next? Options: A. Start searching for potential vendors without further analysis. B. Immediately initiate the procurement process, regardless of the cost. C. Conduct a make or buy analysis to determine if outsourcing is the most effective approach considering costs, risks, and schedule. D. Ignore the suggestion to outsource and continue with the current team regardless of the lack of expertise. Answer: C. Conduct a make or buy analysis to determine if outsourcing is the most effective approach considering costs, risks, and schedule. Rationale: in procurement management, when considering outsourcing a part of the project, the first step should be to conduct a make or buy analysis. This analysis will help the project manager evaluate the costs, risks, and schedule implications of outsourcing versus using internal resources. Only after this analysis should the procurement process be initiated. Starting a search for vendors or initiating procurement without further analysis, or ignoring the suggestion to outsource without considering the implications, are not aligned with best project management practices. Procurement question 3. On completing the development of a procurement plan and strategy, the project steering committee requires the procurement of specialized equipment to meet project objectives. The project manager, PM, needs to take the next step in the procurement management process to ensure the successful acquisition of the required equipment. What should the PM do next to effectively manage the procurement process? Option A. Develop a procurement management plan that outlines the procurement approach, selection criteria, and contract type suitable for acquiring the specialized equipment. Define the roles and responsibilities of the procurement team and establish a clear timeline for the procurement activities. Option B. Prepare a request for proposal, RFP, document that includes detailed specifications, requirements, and evaluation criteria for the specialized equipment. Distribute the RFP to potential suppliers and manage the proposal evaluation process to select the most suitable supplier. Option C. Conduct a business case for the project to identify potential suppliers of the specialized equipment. Evaluate their capabilities, financial stability, and previous experience in delivering similar projects. Initiate contract negotiations with the selected supplier to finalize the terms and conditions. Option D. Establish a procurement strategy that includes determining whether to buy or lease the specialized equipment. Conduct a cost-benefit analysis to evaluate the financial implications of different procurement options. Present the findings to the project sponsor and stakeholders for their input and approval. Answer: the PM should select option B, prepare a request for proposal, RFP, document that includes detailed specifications, requirements, and evaluation criteria for the specialized equipment. Distribute the RFP to potential suppliers and manage the proposal evaluation process to select the most suitable supplier. Rationale: the business case, procurement plan, and strategy are complete, so these would not be the best answers. By preparing a comprehensive RFP document and engaging potential suppliers, the PM can ensure that the project's specific requirements are communicated effectively. Managing the proposal evaluation process allows for an objective assessment of suppliers to choose the most appropriate one. Stakeholder management. Identify stakeholder scenario. The project team identifies all the stakeholders who will be affected by or have an impact on the case management system implementation project, including law firm partners, legal staff, IT department, end users, and external stakeholders such as regulatory bodies or clients. Major output, stakeholder register. Plan stakeholder engagement scenario. The project team develops a stakeholder engagement plan that outlines the strategies and approaches to effectively engage and communicate with stakeholders throughout the case management system implementation. This plan aims to address their expectations, concerns, and needs. Major output, stakeholder engagement plan. Manage stakeholder engagement scenario. The project team implements the stakeholder engagement plan by actively involving stakeholders, addressing their feedback, and keeping them informed about the project progress, changes, and any issues or risks that may impact them during the case management system implementation. Major output, change requests. Monitor stakeholder engagement scenario. The project manager continuously assesses the effectiveness of stakeholder engagement activities, solicits feedback, and monitors stakeholder satisfaction levels. Any adjustments or improvements to the engagement plan are made to ensure that stakeholders remain interested, supportive, and engaged in the case management system implementation project. Major output, change requests and work performance information. Stakeholder scenario type questions, PMP level. Stakeholder question 1. You are the project manager for a new software development project. The project is currently in the execution phase. You have recently received feedback from a stakeholder that they are not happy with the progress of the project. The stakeholder is concerned that the project will not be completed on time or within budget. Options. Ignore the feedback and hope that the stakeholder will be satisfied with the project's final product. Meet with the stakeholder to discuss their concerns and to develop a plan to address them. Ask the project team to work harder to make up for the lost time. Do nothing and hope that the stakeholder will not be too disappointed with the final product. Answer. The best option in this situation is to meet with the stakeholder to discuss their concerns and to develop a plan to address them. This will allow you to understand the stakeholder's concerns and to develop a solution that is both effective and efficient. Rationale: the other options are not as good as the first option because they do not address the stakeholder's concerns. Option 1 would ignore the feedback, which could lead to further dissatisfaction from the stakeholder. Option 2 would meet with the stakeholder, but this may not be enough to address their concerns. Option 3 would ask the project team to work harder, but this may not be possible or may not be in the best interests of the project. Option 4 would do nothing, which could lead to even more problems down the road. By meeting with the stakeholder, you can understand their concerns and develop a solution that is both effective and efficient. This will help to ensure that the project is successful and that the stakeholder is satisfied with the final product. Here are some additional details about each option. Option 1, ignore the feedback and hope that the stakeholder will be satisfied with the project's final product. This is the worst option because it does not address the stakeholder's concerns. Ignoring the feedback could lead to further dissatisfaction from the stakeholder. Option 2, meet with the stakeholder to discuss their concerns and to develop a plan to address them. This option is the best option because it allows you to understand the stakeholder's concerns and to develop a solution that is both effective and efficient. Option 3, ask the project team to work harder to make up for the lost time. This option may be necessary if the stakeholder's concerns are valid. However, it is important to make sure that the project team is not overworked and that the quality of the work is not compromised. Option 4, do nothing and hope that the stakeholder will not be too disappointed with the final product. This is the worst option because it does not address the stakeholder's concerns. Doing nothing could lead to further dissatisfaction from the stakeholder and could damage the project's reputation. Stakeholder Question 2. You are the project manager for a new building construction project. A significant stakeholder, who was not initially very interested in the project, has suddenly started showing a high level of interest due to changes in the stakeholder's business strategy. As the project manager, what should you do next? Options. Ignore the stakeholder's increased interest as you have already defined the project plan and it's too late to make changes. Welcome the stakeholder's interest and immediately start sending them detailed project updates without assessing their specific information needs. Review and update the stakeholder engagement plan and communication plan to reflect the stakeholder's increased interest and specific information needs. Ask the stakeholder to communicate directly with the project team to address their interests and concerns, bypassing the project manager. Answer: see, review, and update the stakeholder engagement plan and communication plan to reflect the stakeholder's increased interest and specific information needs. Rationale: in stakeholder management, when there is a change in a stakeholder's level of interest or influence, the project manager should review and update the stakeholder engagement plan and communication plan. These updated plans should reflect the stakeholder's new level of interest and their specific information needs. Ignoring the change, sending unassessed information, or bypassing the project manager in communications does not align with good project management practices.
Over the past number of minutes, my friends, we've been journeying into the world of project management and learning a little bit more about predictive methods. I hope this has been of help to you. The next thing we're going to do here is go into the world of Scrum, which is really an Agile framework. For those of you getting ready for the exam and you are studying Agile, this will be a nice addition to your studying. So let's change gears. Let's move from the world of Agile to the world of Scrum. I call this Scrum Chronicles. So let's jump straight into it. Scrum Chronicles.
Scrum is fun, and it's so much fun I've decided to make a story about Scrum so you can learn more about it. There's a 3-5-3 configuration in Scrum. 3 roles, 5 events, and 3 artifacts. The 3 roles are the product owner, the Scrum Master, and the developers. The product owner is responsible for the product backlogs sorting, prioritization, and the overall accountability of ensuring there is value in all that's being done. The job of the Scrum Master is to serve as a coach, and the job of the developers is to build what needs to be built using the right practices and frameworks. There are 5 events: the sprint planning, daily scrum, sprint review, and the sprint retrospective. There are 3 artifacts: the product backlog, the sprint backlog, and the increment. Throughout these stories, I'll be narrating to you the Scrum Chronicles. We'll take a look at the twists and turns that teams typically face, and we'll talk about some of the events and other drama that happens in the world of Scrum. So let's jump in to the Scrum Chronicles and learn about Scrum while we enjoy the story.
The Scrum Chronicles Part 1. A Journey into Scrum. Fran and Mary had a problem on their hands. They had just taken over a team that had been struggling with ineffectiveness and suspicion. There was a lack of transparency, communication, and trust within the team, and it was affecting their ability to deliver value. Luckily, Fran and Mary were well versed in the Scrum framework and its 3 pillars of transparency, inspection, and adaptation. They knew that to overcome the team's challenges, they needed to foster an environment that embraced these pillars and the Scrum values of commitment, courage, focus, openness, and respect. Fran and Mary first focused on transparency. They encouraged the team to openly share their work and progress with each other and with stakeholders. They emphasized the importance of inspecting the results of their work and adapting as necessary. Through this transparency, the team began to build trust and collaboration, and they became more effective in their work. Next, Fran and Mary worked on promoting inspection. They encouraged the team to frequently inspect their work and their progress toward their goals. By doing this, the team could detect potentially undesirable variances or problems and adjust their process as needed. Through this inspection, the team was able to catch mistakes early and make adjustments before they became bigger problems. Finally, Fran and Mary focused on adaptation. They empowered the team to adjust their process and materials as soon as possible to minimize further deviation from their goals. The team became more self-managing and more willing to take risks and try new things. They were able to adapt quickly to changing requirements and deliver value to their stakeholders. Through the Scrum framework and its pillars of transparency, inspection, and adaptation, Fran and Mary were able to transform the team from one of suspicion and ineffectiveness to one of collaboration, trust, and high performance. The Scrum values of commitment, courage, focus, openness, and respect were the foundation for this transformation, and the team embraced them fully. Fran and Mary were proud of the team's accomplishments and excited to see what they could achieve next.
One of the main lessons we can learn from this chapter is no framework or method is bulletproof. In other words, it boils down to human interaction. The success of Scrum, Kanban, or any other framework or method rests heavily on the individuals and their interaction. We can also learn from this first chapter that on your exam, whatever exam you are taking in the world of Scrum, Agile, you can expect questions to pose human interaction issues, interpersonal skills issues, communications, leadership, and the soft stuff. I often say the soft stuff is the tough stuff. Let's move into chapter 2 and see what happens next.
The Scrum Chronicles Part 2. A New Mindset. As Fran and Mary started to adopt the Scrum framework, they found that their approach as project managers was not aligned with the values of Scrum. They realized that they were being centralized leaders, and that their team members were not empowered or self-managing. They had to let go of their old habits and embrace the Scrum values. Jen, Carolyn, Michelle, and the rest of the team were initially skeptical of the Scrum framework. They were used to being told what to do and how to do it, and the idea of self-management was new to them. However, as they started working with Scrum, they began to see the benefits of the framework. The Scrum values of commitment, focus, openness, respect, and courage helped the team to work better together. They were committed to achieving their goals and supporting each other, and they focused on the work of the sprint to make the best possible progress toward their goals. They were open about the work and the challenges they faced, which helped them to identify and solve problems quickly. They respected each other's abilities and were not afraid to have difficult conversations when needed. They had the courage to do the right thing, even when it was hard. Fran became more of a customer advocate and chief value officer, understanding what value needed to come first in the backlog. Mary became more of a coach and roadblock remover, helping the team to overcome obstacles and work more effectively. As a result, the team was more self-managing, and everyone was empowered to contribute their skills and expertise to the work. The team worked in sprints at a sustainable pace, which improved their focus and consistency. They became more productive and communicated better as a smaller, cross-functional team. They created a plan for each sprint, adhered to a definition of done, and adapted their plan each day toward the sprint goal. They held each other accountable as professionals. Jen, Carolyn, Michelle, and the rest of the team were now enthusiastic about Scrum. They had learned and explored the Scrum values as they worked with the Scrum events and artifacts. They saw the benefits of the Scrum framework in building trust and producing valuable, useful increments every sprint. As a cohesive unit of professionals focused on one objective at a time, the product goal, the Scrum team was able to achieve their goals and create value through adaptive solutions for complex problems.
It is important to realize that for Scrum to be effective, for it to work, there must first of all be an understanding of what exactly Agile is. Agile is a state of mind that is ever evolving and fluid and dynamic. It's a set of philosophies embodied very nicely in the Agile Manifesto values and principles. So when you think about Agile, think about the principles, the mindset. When you think about Scrum, think about a firm layer, a firm foundation, first of all established by solid, agile understanding. A conviction of individuals and interactions over processes and tools, work in product over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, and responding to change over following a plan. Truly believe in cutting out the maximum fat, simplicity, the art of maximizing the amount of work not done. In other words, maximizing the amount of fat cut out of the process is essential. And that's why certain so-called scaling frameworks that bring an unreasonable amount of overhead and burden are not agile. SAFe being the case in point. For more about this, go to safedelusion.com and read up a little bit more so you will be educated and aware of what Agile truly is, because there's some things that may sound agile and look agile, but when you look under the hood, you realize they are not agile. Let's move on to the next part of our adventure in the Scrum Chronicles.
The Scrum Chronicles Part 3. Events. Fran and Mary knew that the sprint was the heartbeat of Scrum. They understood that sprints were fixed-length events of 1 month or less, where ideas were turned into value. The team worked tirelessly within the sprint to achieve the product goal, which included sprint planning, daily scrums, sprint review, and sprint retrospective. During the sprint, the team worked together to ensure that quality did not decrease, and the product backlog was refined as needed. They clarified and renegotiated the scope with the product owner as they learned more. Sprints were essential for predictability, allowing the team to inspect and adapt their progress toward the product goal at least every calendar month. Fran and Mary understood that shorter sprints could be employed to generate more learning cycles and limit the risk of cost and effort to a smaller time frame. Each sprint could be considered a short project. The team used various practices to forecast progress, like burn-downs, burn-ups, or cumulative flows. However, they knew that these did not replace the importance of empiricism. In complex environments, what will happen is unknown, so only what has already happened could be used for forward-looking decision-making. Fran and Mary were aware that a sprint could be cancelled if the sprint goal became obsolete. However, only the product owner had the authority to cancel the sprint. During sprint planning, the team came together to lay out the work to be performed for the sprint. Fran ensured that attendees were prepared to discuss the most important product backlog items and how they map to the product goal. The team worked collaboratively to define a sprint goal that communicated why the sprint was valuable to stakeholders. The developers selected items from the product backlog to include in the current sprint. They refined these items during this process, which increased their understanding and confidence. They planned the work necessary to create an increment that met the definition of done. This created a sprint backlog that included the sprint goal, the product backlog items selected for the sprint, and the plan for delivering them. The daily scrum was a 15-minute event held at the same time and place every working day of the sprint. It allowed the developers to inspect progress toward the sprint goal and adapt the sprint backlog as necessary, adjusting the upcoming planned work. The developers could select whatever structure and techniques they wanted, as long as their daily scrum focused on progress toward the sprint goal and produced an actionable plan for the next day of work. The sprint review allowed the team to inspect the outcome of the sprint and determine future adaptations. The team presented the results of their work to key stakeholders, and progress toward the product goal was discussed. Based on this information, attendees collaborated on what to do next. The sprint review was a working session, and the team should avoid limiting it to a presentation. The sprint retrospective was an opportunity for the team to plan ways to increase quality and effectiveness. They inspected how the last sprint went with regards to individuals, interactions, processes, tools, and their definition of done. They identified the most helpful changes to improve their effectiveness, which they addressed as soon as possible. The most impactful improvements were even added to the sprint backlog for the next sprint. Fran and Mary understood that Scrum's artifacts represented work or value and were designed to maximize transparency of key information. Each artifact contained a commitment to ensure it provided information that enhanced transparency and focus against which progress could be measured. The product backlog was an emergent, ordered list of what was needed to improve the product, and it was the single source of work undertaken by the Scrum team. The product goal described a future state of the product that could serve as a target for the Scrum team to plan against, and it was in the product backlog. The sprint backlog was composed of the sprint goal, the set of product backlog items selected for the sprint, and an actionable plan for delivering the increment. An increment was a concrete stepping stone toward the product goal, and each increment was additive to all prior increments and thoroughly verified to ensure that all increments work together. The definition of done was a formal description of the state of the increment when it met the quality measures required for the product. It created transparency by providing everyone a shared understanding of what work was completed as part of the increment.
And as the rest of the story goes, Fran and Mary were very proud of their team's accomplishments. What can you learn from this story so far? What you can learn is Scrum is a framework that can be scaled up. There are various aspects that we can include in Scrum, such as the Kanban board. Now let's talk a little bit about Kanban. Kanban can be seen in the world of Scrum as a strategy for optimizing the flow of value. Through the framework, we use a visual work in progress pull system to guide what we do in the world of Kanban. In the world of Scrum, though, we have a cadence that is more set. In the world of Kanban, the cadence is free form and flexible depending on a number of factors. The concept of flow is central to Kanban, and by flow, we mean the movement of value throughout the product development system. When we talk about the Kanban board, in the world of Scrum, it might be called a storyboard, but be aware that in the world of Scrum, we could scale our practices up. The beauty of Kanban is a visualization of the workflow, limiting our work in progress, active management of work items in progress, and inspecting and adapting the team's definition of workflow. The summary of the ideas behind Kanban and why we limit our WIP can be seen in Little's Law. The average cycle time is equal to the average work in progress divided by the average throughput. In summary, if you want to increase your throughput, you need to limit your WIP. Next, we'll move into a dramatic point in our story. In the world of the Scrum Chronicles, let's journey into our next chapter.
The Scrum Chronicles Part 4. The Scrum Master. Mary had always taken her role as Scrum Master very seriously. She was a true leader who served her team and the organization with dedication and passion. She was always looking for ways to improve their processes and help the team members work together more effectively. One day, the team was working on a project when they were attacked by a bully stakeholder who was unhappy with the progress of the project. The stakeholder was aggressive and intimidating, and the team members were shaken by the encounter. Mary immediately sprang into action, coaching the team members in self-management and cross-functionality, and helping them focus on creating high-value increments that met the definition of done. She also caused the removal of impediments to the team's progress, and ensured that all Scrum events took place and were positive, productive, and kept within the time box. Mary facilitated stakeholder collaboration as requested or needed, and helped the team understand the need for clear and concise product backlog items. Mary's role as Scrum Master was crucial in this situation, as she provided the team with the guidance and support they needed to deal with the bully stakeholder. She worked closely with the product owner, Fran, to help her find techniques for effective product goal definition and product backlog management. Mary also helped the organization as a whole by leading, training, and coaching the organization in its Scrum adoption. She planned and advised Scrum implementations within the organization, and helped employees and stakeholders understand and enact an empirical approach for complex work. Thanks to Mary's leadership and expertise, the team was able to overcome the challenges they faced and continue to make progress on the project. Mary's role as Scrum Master was critical to their success, and she remained a valued member of the team and the organization as a whole.
A Scrum Master is not a mere facilitator or just a dog's buddy. A Scrum Master is indeed a leader at all levels, a servant leader, one who inspires, motivates, encourages, and protects, and understands the importance of being a diversion shield. And that is what we were able to glean from the last chapter. Let's move on to our next chapter, having in mind that in the world of Scrum, we scale up. I do not begrudge companies that add on to Scrum in good taste, but it's important to understand that it's not about the tools. It's about the individuals, the interactions, their synergies, their ability to retrospect and move forward. Let's move on to the next chapter.
The Scrum Chronicles Part 5. The Product Owner. As the product owner for the Healthcare Management System project, Fran had a challenging task ahead of her. She needed to determine what features would provide the most value for the business, while still meeting the needs of the stakeholders and users. With her deep understanding of the healthcare industry and her ability to work closely with business stakeholders, Fran was able to add value to the project right from the start. She began by working with the SMEs to identify the most critical features for the system, and then she carefully prioritized these features to ensure that the team worked on the most important items first. Fran's role as product owner required her to have a clear vision of the product goal, and she worked closely with the team to ensure that everyone understood what that goal was. She created a detailed product backlog that communicated the key features of the system and their priority, ensuring that the team had a clear roadmap for development. One of Fran's most significant contributions to the project was her ability to channel innovation and decisiveness from the business stakeholders. She worked with them to narrow down what they wanted in the system and then helped them communicate their vision to the team. Her leadership and collaboration were critical to the success of the project. Fran worked with the team to ensure that the product backlog was always transparent, visible, and well understood, and that any changes to it were communicated effectively to everyone involved. Throughout the project, Fran remained focused on maximizing the value of the system. She made sure that the features being developed aligned with the business goals and needs of the users, and that the team was always working on the most valuable items in the backlog. As a result of Fran's leadership and guidance, the Healthcare Management System project was a resounding success. The system delivered the functionality that the business stakeholders needed, while also providing a seamless experience for users. Fran's ability to work closely with the team and stakeholders was critical to the project's success, and her contributions added real value to the business.
And that's why we say the job of a product owner is extremely important. It's an extremely important position because if the product owner gets it wrong, then the team goes downhill. But if the product owner gets it right and understands the concept of value, complexity, urgency, risk, and other parameters, then it's a home run. If the product owner is able to relate to Little's Law and the concept around cost of delay, then the product owner has a much higher chance of success. And for this reason, we call the product owner the Chief Value Officer. Let's move into our final chapter of Season 1 and talk about the power of the team. The developers. Teamwork makes the dream work. The developers are an integral part of the Scrum team. They have their work cut out for them. Let's jump in as we round up Season 1.
The Scrum Chronicles Part 6. Developers Assemble. Fran, the product owner, and Mary, the Scrum Master, were leading a Scrum team consisting of Jans, Cindy, Michelle, Chandra, Ed, Laura, Viru, and Caroline. The team was working on a healthcare management system project, and the developers were responsible for creating a usable increment each sprint. One sprint, the team got into a conflict about the definition of done and definition of ready. Some team members felt that the standards were not high enough, while others felt that they were too strict. Fran and Mary immediately called for a team meeting to address the issue. During the meeting, the team members shared their opinions and concerns. Some felt that they were being held to unrealistic standards, while others felt that they were not being held accountable enough. Fran and Mary listened attentively and encouraged the team members to find a middle ground. After a long discussion, the team members agreed to revise the definition of done and definition of ready. They created a new set of standards that were realistic, but still challenging. They also agreed to hold each other accountable and to communicate any concerns as they arose. Despite their agreement, a team member tried to add more work in the middle of the sprint, causing tension among the team. Mary stepped in and reminded the team member of the definition of ready, which clearly stated that all work must be agreed upon before the sprint started. The team member apologized and agreed to follow the agreed upon standards going forward. Thanks to Fran and Mary's leadership, the team was able to work together and find a solution that worked for everyone. They learned to communicate effectively and to hold each other accountable, which helped them create a high-quality product each sprint. The project was a success, and the team members felt proud of the work they had accomplished together.
And that concludes the final chapter in Season 1 of the Scrum Chronicles. In our last episode, we listened to how the team overcame divergence. Divergence isn't a problem. Constructive conflict is also not a problem. Where it becomes a problem is destructive conflict. But with a team that is maturing, there is not a problem in conflict or divergence if it is well managed. And it is well managed by one, giving the team autonomy to grow and build and get to a point where they can make their own decisions. In the very beginning, a Scrum Master and a product owner may find themselves being a bit more on the directing axis than when a team is mature. A mature team needs less intervention and less direction. A young team, a new team, and I mean young in terms of how long they've been together, not in terms of age, a young team needs more guidance and hand-holding. But over time, the Scrum Master and product owner need to allow the team to grow, especially if they are the more mature individuals in terms of agile thinking, agile practices, and frameworks such as Scrum. Over time, the team will overcome its difficulty if we give them the right environment and support they need, and if we trust them to get the job done. The team should be exposed to vehicles for decision making such as Fist of Five, dot voting, the Highsmith decision spectrum, and others. This concludes Season 1. In Season 2, the journey will continue. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Thank you for coming on the journey with us. See you soon. We have come to the end of our learning by listening. And at this point, I want to invite you to go on down to our website. It's praizion.com. That's Praizion.com for more project management, training, and study materials. Thank you very much. Take care and bye for now.